Hi there, it's Jo from Minerva. Today I'm here for a really quick tutorial on a hand stitching technique called a pick stitch. A pick stitch is a tiny stitch you see from the right side, well you shouldn't see at all, and on the reverse you'll get quite long running stitches as you take one pick stitch to the next. It's used to hold things in place, so you might use it if you're adding a lace applique to something where you get a tiny little stitch from the right side that's buried into the fabric and you don't see it, and then you can move to the next place and put another pick stitch. The example I'm going to show you today is on a dress with a crochet collar. So I crocheted this collar. It happened to fit on this dress. This is a vintage pattern that I had, and I've made this dress a long time ago and it's one of my favourites. But what's starting to happen is, as this has been washed a few times and it's getting older, is it's starting to roll. When I wear it, it's starting to roll up like that, and I'm missing to see those nice flat stitches in my crochet there. So I'm going to put some pick stitches around this collar to hold the collar in place. You might also use it if you are using a lace overlay on something. So where you have your neckline with your lace on the front of your lining on the back, then you might want to just put a tiny row of pick stitches to keep the lining on the back and keep your lace so that you have a really flush edge. Some people use a pick stitch to put in a zip by hand. So if you're really into your vintage sewing and sewing techniques, then you might put a lapped zip in using a pick stitch, so that the lap that goes over the zip just has tiny little pick stitches that are evenly spaced along the lap of the zip. On the reverse, there'll be some longer stitches, but they are normally covered by some lining or covered by a facing, or they're so neat and even that it doesn't matter that they're there anyway, because that's part of the handmade finish of your product. Before you pick stitch anything in place, you need to make sure that it's pressed out to how you actually want it. So there's no point this crochet being washed and all scrunched up and then I pick stitch it in place, because then when I want to iron it I won't be able to stretch it out. So this has all been blocked out, but I'm getting a bit of a roll of the collar rolling up and not staying nice and flat. So I'm going to put a little stitch underneath. Need a good matching thread. And then you're going to take a tiny bit of the front of the fabric so you can hardly see it, and then move along to the next one. So I've decided that I'm going to anchor with this little piece here, but it could be random if I had a lace design that wasn't patterned. I'm going to go between the dress and the facing, and then rather than go at an angle, I want a pick stitch is very vertical, so you stab straight down and then you can stab straight back up again. That's the pick stitch. Now you're going to take your thread between the dress and the facing again, pick your spot. Now this is your pick stitch. It's going to go vertically through the layers. And back up nearly in exactly the same place, and again between the fabric and the lining, a vertical stab, so you shouldn't be able to see it at all. It's holding that collar down there now, that top ridge row, and it's stopping it curling over. It'll also make it easier to press in the future. I'm going to go between the dress and the facing, and then stab vertically. Some people do call it a stab stitch. And from the reverse, you shouldn't see anything. In fact, just a few tiny little stabs there. You see one there, one there, one there. And from the right side, you don't see anything at all either. In between is the carry-on of the threads, but you don't see those with a facing. So that is how you make a pick stitch, and it's useful for holding down intricate pieces of fabric on the right side, and it stops things from ballooning if you've got a lace work or crochet work or layers of fabric. So that's a pick stitch, sometimes called a stab stitch, which is useful for hand finishing your items. Do come back again soon for more tutorials. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.